Always,
That's good.
always ready. So a huge welcome to Justin, who is co-founder of the Different Company alongside former Qualified Tutor podcast guest and big favorite of ours here, Mike Michalowicz. Justin this evening will be talking to us about how we build leads for life, how small business owners can create those recurring lead generation and help us to really build our. Oh, if that's you, just pop yourself on mute. So
get some lunch. It's time to eat.
Is that talking to me? I think that's unfair. Lunch was about 4 hours ago. Might be about lunchtime for Justin. So Justin is a former pastor in a church in West Des Moines in Iowa, and has been at the forefront of understanding the changing face of the digital world ever since he hacked his college's email address after graduating just so he could create a Facebook account. That is one of Justin's own stories. I haven't just guessed or known that about him. And with over 24,000 entrepreneurs, I'm sure it's many more than that, now subscribed to his email messaging, Justin has built quite a following along the way. A huge thank you to our sponsors for the entire festival, Nudge Education, who are leaders in eradicating chronic disengagement in students up and down the country here in the UK, and also to the profs who have wonderfully helped us deliver day 2 at this incredible festival. So I'm going to hand over to Justin right now, and he'll take you through for the next hour or so. Justin, please, the floor is yours.
Oh man, you are the best. Thank you so much for that intro. I'm going to get my screen shared so I'm ready to rock and roll. Good afternoon, or as I would say, but good evening to all of you. I understand it's getting later in the day out there, and it's great to be here with you. I am so thrilled to be sharing this material with you. It's a labor of love. It's a labor of passion. You'll hear a little bit of my story in the session today. So I'll save that for later on. Let me get this shared here. This is always the trickiest part. There we go. Okay. I think everybody can see. If you can see my screen, type in the chat, "We see you." That'll let me know that you're on board. Okay. Rachel says we see you. Julia, we see you. Ludo. Okay, great. I do this normally when I do speaking engagements here in the United States, but I don't think I've ever done this for an audience that's primarily overseas, at least for me. Drop in the chat where you're watching this from. It could be city, well, not state, but Essex, London, Brighton, Bath, Cheltenham, Edgware, London. Awesome. Amazing. This is so exciting. Oh, we got El Paso. What up, Texas? Bellingham. Oh, nice. North Wales, Ascot, Homerton, Wales. I have family from Wales. I am a quarter Welsh. Anyway, let me ask you, as we get going here, I want to start with this question. And I do want everybody who's able to answer in the chat. Do you believe that you're better than your competition? Now, competition here in this context, if you just joined, by the way, go ahead and throw your microphone on mute. I want to know if you're better, if you believe that you're better than your competition. And this could be you provide a better service, you provide better care, you have a better process, you have better team members, whatever. Do you believe that you are better than your competition? Helen says sometimes. I love that answer. Cindy says yes. Tina says yes. Lucy says I am my only competition. Love that. Brian says sometimes. I think we have a few folks who are popping their microphone on. If you would please go ahead and throw that on mute. Andrea says different than the competition. Carol says yes. Cool. Okay. Well, I'm going to take a hard right here, and I promise we'll come back to this. The reason why I'm asking you this question is because it'll come into play later. There are so many people, small business owners in your case, so many tutors, and you are a small business owner. Even if it's just you, you're a small business owner because you are boss, but you're also an employee. Got to provide for yourself and for your family. I want to tell you about a time when I didn't believe that I was better than my competition. And in fact, I didn't believe in myself a whole lot at all. This picture I'm going to show you is from 2009. This was me at my lowest mentally and my highest weight. So you can't see it now, but I'm about 20 pounds heavier in this picture than I am right now. My first son, Finn, had just been born. And even though I'm smiling on the outside, I was super bummed on the inside. And I was in a spot where professionally I was unfulfilled. I knew that I had the stuff. I knew that I knew what I was talking about, but my life didn't show that. It did not show up in my life at all whatsoever. I was making 30 grand a year here in the States, US dollar, and I was falling short as a husband and as a dad. 30 grand is not a lot, in case you're wondering. 30 grand, and even back in 2009, did not buy you much. And it was my goal and my desire to provide for my family, to have my wife stay at home. It's not for everyone, but it was certainly for us. And I couldn't do that at 30 grand a year, not even close. We could barely afford the place we were staying at, let alone buy a house of our own. So I was falling short. At least that's how I felt. And I knew that something had to change. So I'll fast forward a little bit in the story because there's peaks and valleys, I'm sure, just as in your story. But let me fast forward you to 2013, when I was on the verge of, I had just left my job at the church as a pastor. I knew that wasn't for me long term. And I was bouncing around from contract to contract, from client to client, just enough to kind of, pay the bills, but certainly nothing where I could take my foot off the gas pedal. Not even enough where I felt safe and comfortable in where we were at. It was scraping by. I was on my own, but I was scraping by. And so I sent an email out. Actually, I'm going to go back a slide. I was a huge fan of Gary Vaynerchuk at the time. If you're familiar with who Gary Vaynerchuk is, drop Gary V in the chat. Drop Gary V in the chat. Okay, Ludo, yes. Jan, yes. Okay, so we got enough people who know who Gary V is. Great. So I really looked up to Gary V at the time. And again, this is 2013, just to set the stage. And like I said, I had left my job, was bouncing around from contract to contract. And I saw Gary V as an inspiration. So I wrote Gary V an email and I said, hey, I'm launching my business. I would love it if I could throw some ideas past you, and if you would end up, if you would be interested in helping me launch my business. And instead of just sending that email straight away, what I did was I took a picture of me standing in front of a stack of books of his. His book that he had launched at the time was Jab, 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 Right Hook. And so I bought something like 50 of his books. I took a picture of me standing in front of this stack of books. I put it in the email, with the request that I had mentioned to you earlier. I sent it off and I waited. I waited to see if he would respond. And about 2 weeks after I sent that email, I got a response. And I got a response directly from Gary. And this is what it said. This is the actual email. He had copied his entire team on it. And all it said was, you can come and follow and have Nate, John, and Phil walk you around. Make sure I am around. And that's all he sent. And his assistant took over from there. And lo and behold, I went out and spent a whole entire day in New York City with Gary and his team. And to say it was foundational, to say it was pivotal would be an understatement. And in fact, he did agree once I was out there to help me launch my brand new business. It was called Think Digital. And our very first product was Think Digital Academy. You'll see that here in a second. So I had gone out to visit him. I came back to where I live. We set up a video interview. He did a 15-minute interview with me. And I used that interview to do our launch of our first product. I took the stack of books that I had bought earlier, incorporated that into the launch, and we launched our first product called Think Digital Academy. Now, this is back in 2014 now. We had crossed over into the new year, and digital marketing and courses and all that kind of stuff was relatively new. So this was kind of like cutting edge at the time anyway. And so I took everything I knew about digital marketing, I threw it into this course. Gary helped me launch. And within 90 days of launching my first business, I was generating the same amount of revenue in a month that I used to make in a year at the church. So again, I'll say that again. Within 90 days, I was generating the same monthly revenue, 30K a month, that I used to make in an entire year at the church. Now, why do I share that with you? It certainly wasn't taking all that home, right? When you build a business, you have expenses and you have savings and you have, marketing and all these things you need to invest in. So it wasn't like I was just pocketing that, but it was a game changer, completely changed our entire lives as a family. And so I'm proud to say now, fast forward to 2022, we now have 3 kids. My wife and I, Carrie, there you see her on the left, and she has been at home. I like to say I retired her in 2013 because she's been home with our 3 kids ever since then. And now obviously there are other things that went into that, but it all started there. It all started in getting Gary's attention. And you have to imagine Gary gets a lot of email and he has a lot of people asking him for stuff. And he's got a lot of people saying that asking what he can do for them. So I knew getting his attention, we had to do something different. And getting his attention and being able to spend the day with him and being able to incorporate him into our business launch made the entire difference. I owe a lot to Gary Vaynerchuk. He took a chance on me when he didn't have to. And so I share that with you because what I want you to know, what I want you to understand, and if you take away nothing else from the session, here's what I want you to know. Different worked. Different worked. I don't know how many emails he got. I don't know how many emails Gary gets a day for people asking him for stuff, but I knew I had to do something different. And taking a picture of me standing in front of a stack of books that I couldn't afford at the time, of his books rather, made all the difference. And so what I also want you to know is different gets noticed. Different gets noticed. So different worked for me, different will work for you. That's because different gets noticed. That's what we're going to spend the rest of our time talking about today. As you heard in the intro, I have partnered up with Mike Michalowicz. I know you all are huge fans of Mike, as am I. And since partnering with him and building our business together, I've become even more of a fan of his. It's sometimes they say don't meet your idols, but with Mike, that is certainly not true. He's everything you would hope he would be. So Mike wrote a book called Get Different. Who has the book? If you have the book, say Get Different in the chat. I want to know if you've had a chance to get this book. Who's out there that has read it? Nobody. Okay. We might need to fix that. I promise you it's worth your while if you want to go get that book. Get Different. I think it's on Amazon. Not quite sure how it works in the UK, but I know you all have Amazon. So you can get it on Audible too. Yeah, Amazon. Get Different is the name of the book. And so I'm going to be talking to you. Good news is if you are not familiar with the book or you've not heard about it, I'm going to give you the core concepts here today and would love for you to go pick that book up as well. So Mike is an author. He's a great writer. He wrote the book and I'm building the business around the book. It's called Get Different Accelerator. I do have a special little thank you for you later on in regards to the accelerator. So I'll get to that towards the end, but that's how we partner together. He wrote the book, I'm building the business, and we are helping people get noticed, helping entrepreneurs, small business owners get noticed by increasing the visibility, making their marketing unignorable. So my question for you, as you think about leads and getting leads, even if you don't need a ton of leads or you need a tremendous amount of leads, I want to know in the chat how you primarily get leads for your business. So as you think through, go ahead and throw that in the chat. As you think through, okay, where do leads come from when I get new clients? What is that number one way? Okay, we have referrals, word of mouth, parent word of mouth, networking, word of mouth. Thank you, Helen. Julia says LinkedIn. Jan says networking. Carol says agencies, calls, collaborations from Rachel, social, Sarah Lynn. Pierre says Facebook ads, Twitter for Elizabeth, agencies for Brian. And listen, like getting leads any way you can get them is a good method as far as I'm concerned. The challenge comes when we are dependent. And I saw a lot of word of mouth and referrals, which is pretty common when I talk on this topic. That's what most of us are familiar with. And referrals and word of mouth are not bad. They're great. It means you're doing a good job. It means that people trust you and like you, and they want to refer business to you. The challenge occurs when we are dependent on referrals. And that's our only way to get leads. And as you can see on the slide here, referrals are gravy, not the main dish. Not too long ago here in the US, we had Thanksgiving. If you're not familiar, it's basically an excuse for Americans to get together and eat way more than they should. And one of my favorite parts about Thanksgiving dinner is gravy. But what I will tell you is you pour the gravy on top of the mashed potatoes, on top of the turkey, the stuffing, it's all good. But I would not want to eat a bowl of gravy. Gross. And with referrals and word of mouth, that's what goes on top. It's the gravy. And what I want to show you is a system that you can put together. Anybody watching this can use in their business to generate leads and to close leads. Because I want you to have a system, a framework you can go back to over and over again. So when the referrals do come in, I want you to imagine pouring the gravy on top of the meal, not just slurping down a disgusting bowl of gravy. So again, referrals are gravy, not the main dish. They're not bad. We just want them to be in addition to, not the main dish. So let me see if I can kind of read your mind, predict your future. I want to know if you resonate with any of these. I'm going to give you 3 owner profiles that we typically see in our accelerator. These are folks who have a successful business. They're making money, doing all sorts of different things, coaching, consulting, woodworking, roofing companies, you name it, everywhere in between. But there's 3 profiles that we usually see. The first one is the out of control owner, where they're throwing random marketing efforts at the wall and hoping that something sticks. They have no time, no desire, no energy to think through marketing on a strategic level. And this is super important, right? So they know that marketing needs to happen. They know that it needs to get done, but they're just so wiped, either through fulfilling on what they sold, trying to get new leads, whatever, dealing with employee issues, doesn't matter. They have no time to think through marketing at a strategic level. I love it. Jan says, guilty. I love your honesty. Thank you, Jan. You have no consistent way to predictably control your lead flow, and you are sick of it. Everything feels like it's out of control when it comes to your marketing. And that's what we see in the out of control owner. Any out of control owners out there besides Jan? I know there's some. If that's you, Jan, thank you for your honesty. Go ahead and let me know. Cindy says yes. So we got another out of control. By the way, every owner profile that I'm going to share with you, I've been in those shoes before. So the reason I know them so well is because I've been every single one of them. Andrea says yes. Awesome. Because we're going to get you out of that. We're going to put you in control. Now we have the invisible owner, where your business is entirely dependent on word of mouth referrals to bring in new leads. Again, not a bad thing, but here's what happens when you're an invisible owner. Let's say your client, your customer decides to stop referring. Somebody said parent referrals earlier. What if parents decide, hey, we're really busy with school and work and sports and activities, and we're just not thinking about referring people to you. We got our own stuff to think about. Well, you're entirely dependent on your customer's whim to get new leads. It's a really scary place to be as a business owner. The invisible owner has a strong customer base. That's usually an indication, but no predictability in how many referrals come in from one month to the next. So like I said, there's no predictability. You don't know. It's, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, are they going to refer people this month? They're my best source of leads, but oh no, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, flew to Arizona for the summer, or maybe they went to Spain on holiday or whatever. And they're just not thinking about referring people to you. The invisible owner also, they're always worried. This is a key indicator for me. They're always worried that 1 or 2 bad months might completely tank the business, right? So they know I don't have any predictability, which means I can't reliably create leads for my business, which means I can't reliably predict sales, which means I can't reliably predict revenue. And so I'm kind of at the whim of my client and customer. It's a really scary place to be in, is to be invisible. Then last, by the way, let me go back one slide. Any invisible owners? I see Lucy says yes for a while. This was me. Martin says whack-a-mole. Not sure what that means. Hopefully that's a good thing. Any invisible owners where you primarily indicate or identify with being invisible? Tina says yes. Andrea says yes. Good. Okay, last one. Elizabeth says that was me last year. Helen says a bit of both so far. Yeah, it's not uncommon where we see people who will say that's 1, 2, or 3. All 3 of those, that's me. The commodified owner. I used to own an agency, digital marketing agency, and this one hit me the hardest because we were a service-based business, and I found myself in the commodified owner box most often. The commodified owner, your business is growing, but you keep hitting a growth ceiling and nothing you do seems to work. You can't get past a certain point. Doesn't matter what you try, doesn't matter what tactics you put into play, nothing you do seems to work. You want to say no to less than ideal clients or customers, but you aren't sure you have a clear way to replace them. That to me is a big one. I call it warm body syndrome, right? Where a client comes around, maybe it's somebody you're not super excited to work with, either via their temperament, or you can just tell maybe they're nice people, but they can't afford your prices, but you say yes anyway because you don't have that reliability. You don't have that predictability. And you also know if I say no to them, they're going to go to somebody else and that person is going to say yes to them and they're going to get the client. So we certainly felt this sting, and maybe you do too. The commodified owner also has a nagging suspicion that you are undercharging, but feel like you have to because competitors charge less than you. Is that anybody in the room? Is that anybody? Do you feel commodified, where almost like a cog in the wheel, a replacement part? We had a water heater in our house recently fail. And it was so interesting to me because the gentleman who came by to fix it, he basically just looked in his little, computer of parts and ordered the replacement part. It came to the house, he swapped it out, and it didn't even look like anything was different. You just swapped the parts out. And a lot of times our businesses can get in that same spot where when we don't do different, when we don't know how to do different, we're just that swappable part. So if we say no, then they're going to go to somebody else who offers somewhat similar things as I do, and they're going to say yes to that person, and they're going to get the business. That's a hallmark of the commodified business owner. And all these really boil down to one main central statement. If you can't get noticed, you won't get business. If you can't get noticed, you won't get business. So let me show you how to get noticed. This is a 3-part framework. I'm going to go through it very briefly here, and then we're going to dig in. Okay, this is the Get Different framework. Step 1, differentiate. The objective is to get noticed. Step 2 is to attract, provide an opportunity to your ideal prospect. And step 3 is direct, make a reasonable ask of your prospect. So I'm going to go through each one of these in depth, but I want you to remember first, each element is a taco ingredient. And the Get Different framework is the taco. Okay, so what I mean by that is when you think about differentiate, attract, and direct, okay, when you think about those 3 steps that you're going to learn here in a second, those are separate taco ingredients. So I don't know about you, but I love tacos. We just had some the other night, and I like them because I can make it exactly how I want to make it. But, you know, if we make this giant tray of toppings and I don't go and take those toppings and put it in a shell, I'm going to have a bowl full of ingredients sitting in front of me that on their own are not very appetizing. I love jalapenos, but I don't want to eat a bowl of jalapenos by itself. I love ground beef and shredded chicken, but I'm not really keen to eat a bowl of that all by itself. The beauty, the joy of the taco is you get to put it all together. And what I want to tell you is this. I'm going to show you how to use the ingredients, but it's up to you to put those ingredients together. Otherwise, it's not going to do anything for your business. And that would be a shame. So just know, I'm going to give you the ingredients, but you're going to have to assemble the taco. All right. Step 1, differentiate. Objective, get the prospect's attention. You got to get noticed. Why? We've covered this, but I'm going to say it again. If you can't get noticed, you won't get business. Okay. So some mistakes we see in this step, blending into the background. This is so huge. Blending into the background, sounding like everyone else, looking like everyone else, offering services just like everybody else, saying it the same way, having the same website. Afraid of standing out from the crowd, copying competitors. Man, oh man, I see this everywhere. Where, oh, hey, Joe down the street, is doing this and it seems to be working from a marketing perspective. So I'm just going to rip it off and do the exact same thing. These are all surefire ways to get habituated by your prospect. And if that sounds painful, it's because it is. Habituation, if you don't know, I'll give you a quick primer. Habituation is something your brain does to make sure you don't go insane. So right now, if you were to look around your room, wherever you're watching this, you would probably see thousands of... Somebody did that on purpose, I swear. So I think someone's still unmuted. If everyone would please just mute your microphone, that would help me out a ton. Thanks so much. So where was I? Okay, so you do not want to get habituated. Your brain basically says, listen, there's so much stimulus around me. I have to put some of this in the background. In fact, I have to put most of this into the background. So your brain habituates your surroundings. This happens in advertising all the time. This happens in marketing all the time, where your brain says, that's not unique, that's not new, that's not different. Boom, into the background it goes. You get ignored. So when you sound like everybody else, when you market like everyone else, when you use the same medium or messages as everybody else, your ideal prospect literally puts you to the back of their brain and ignores you. This is brain science 101, brain chemistry 101. So we have to do different to get noticed. Now, one thing I want to point out is different does not mean extreme, okay? We have a lot of folks sometimes who get nervous around this idea of doing different because they feel like they have to violate their personality. They feel like they have to violate who they are. They feel like they have to be something that they're not. And doing different is the exact opposite. Doing different is finding out exactly who you are and doubling and tripling down on that. If you go to my Twitter account, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I'm at Justin Wise on Twitter. I don't know if you're on Twitter, but if you want to see me testing out different ideas, that's where I do it on Twitter, because I want to find out what those ideas are. I want to find out how to do different in such a way that my ideal prospect takes notice. So different doesn't mean extreme. In fact, it means the opposite. It's not doing something that or violating your personality. It's doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on your personality. Different also does not mean goofy or silly or zany or weird, unless that, of course, is your differentiation factor. You know, if you're a fan of Mike Michalowicz, you know that his different is his sense of humor. And he doubles and triples and quadruples down on that because it's what makes him different. It's what makes him stand out. It's what gets him noticed. And he has become a master at it. There's nobody better on the planet. That's why he wrote the book on it. So different doesn't mean violating your personality. It just simply means, and it doesn't mean doing something that you don't want to do. It means really finding out, why does my ideal prospect see me as capable? Or what is it that makes me me? And tripling and doubling down on it. So let me give you some examples. This is not my college campus, but on my college campus, we had a path that looked very similar to this. We call it the cow path. And, you know, all the engineers and the campus planners, they said, hey, you know, we should have the sidewalk go here. And the students were like, yeah, that's really nice that you thought that, but we're actually going to go our own way. And I show this picture because I want you to think about this. I want you to remember this image when you think about marketing your business. This is what doing different looks like. It means taking your own path. You're going to the same destination, more clients, more leads, increasing your business, whatever. But the path you take has to be unique to you. And so it's choosing your own path. It's not taking the path that everybody else takes. It's saying we are going to go our own way. Some examples. I always love showing some examples. I love this billboard so much. This is an actual billboard. This was during the height of the pandemic. And I just thought it was so brilliant. This was up in Minnesota, which is about 4 hours north of where I live. And they totally leveraged kind of the zeitgeist and the cultural pulse of the moment and said, best time ever to get braces. Boom, there is the website. And it's a young lady who presumably has braces on behind her mask, but doesn't have to be embarrassed to show people. I know because my son is just starting to enter the stage where he might need braces and he's not looking forward to it. I just thought this was so brilliant. You don't see very many dentists doing this, having fun, using humor. And I thought this was a great example of doing different. So another example, one of our clients, Val, she sent these thinking caps. So she runs a virtual assistant company. She sent these thinking caps to 20 of the people or businesses that she wanted to work with most. And she sent them this cap and wrote them a nice note that basically said, you know, our assistants are so good, they can do your thinking for you. And sent that to 20 people, ended up getting 3 new clients out of it. And, but more than the clients, she got notes back from a lot of those 20 people, 20 individuals, where they said, no one's ever done anything like this before. Or this was so unique, this was so interesting, this definitely got our attention. That's what we're going for. Small, subtle, little changes to get noticed. We're not worrying about the other steps right now. We're simply saying, what can we do to get noticed? Here's another example. This is from a Journal advertisement or a Lou advertisement, as you might say. This is a text message if you can't read it. This is presumably from between Tony and Oscar. Tony is the owner of the bar. Oscar is his marketing person. It is a literal printout of a text message. It says, hey, Oscar, it's Tony. Can you make a flyer for our new happy hour? Oscar says, sure, no problem. Send me the details. Tony gives him the details. Oscar asks, what time does it start? Tony gives the details. Oscar says, done and done, buddy. Boom, print it, throw it above a urinal. You've got something that gets noticed. I actually found this on Reddit. So this had gone viral by the time I found it. Different gets noticed. Last example I'll show you is, this is, if you don't know what this is a bottled water or canned water company called Liquid Death. And never had a can of it myself, but I love their marketing because it gets noticed. You could see here, this is not the normal presentation of a bottled water company. Normally a bottled water company, you're going to see aqua and blue and purple and pink and these kind of soft jewel tones. And Liquid Death came out, totally turned this on its head, threw a tagline called "Murder Your Thirst" on it, put a skull on their can, made it look like Four Loko or like an energy drink, and they're totally crushing it. I love their Facebook ads. Their Facebook ads are negative reviews that they've received, and it definitely gets noticed. Actually, I lied. One last example I want to share with you, and then we'll move on for the sake of time. This was by far my most opened subject line ever, not even close. And I bet you'll spot the reason why. Now, I would like to tell you this was an intentional stroke of marketing genius, but it wasn't. It was simply a typo. And like I said, this was my highest open rate email ever. Are you marketing white noise? Because of the typo. But as I looked at this, it made total sense to me because different gets noticed. This stuck out in people's inboxes. Hey, there's a misspelled word. Huh, interesting. What's that? Boom, open it up, read the email. So different gets noticed. Now you can do this strategically, but I wouldn't advise doing that often. So a little lesson for you. Again, I'll reemphasize. Step one, get noticed. Different gets noticed. Do something different. Super, super important. Step two, attract, okay? The objective in step two is provide a safe and relevant opportunity that makes someone say, oh, that's interesting. That's all we're trying to do here. All we want them to do is have your ideal prospect say, huh, that's interesting. Why? Because like any good relationship, nurturing the bond is essential for the final step. So we have to present ourselves as an attractive business and present an attractive opportunity for the ideal prospect. Some mistakes we see: racing to close the deal too fast and ignoring this step, or presenting an unattractive opportunity. This is by far the stickiest part in the process because it's the one that deals most with relationships. When you think about marketing, I want you to remember that all you're doing is relating to other people. That's all marketing is. It's finding ways to relate to people, presumably your ideal prospect. And so when we skip over attract, when we don't think of things from our prospect's perspective, we lose out on nurturing that relationship. And attract, providing an attractive opportunity that is relevant to your ideal prospect, is key for the Get Different system to work. So let me give you some examples here. The first one is, how do you define an attractive opportunity? Well, it's real simple. You take what you want and overlap with what they want, they being your ideal prospect or the market, and that overlap is an attractive opportunity. So let me give you some examples here. I don't know if they have Costco's in the UK, but these are, bulk membership stores, right? You go to and you buy 5-gallon jug of mayonnaise. We have those here in the US. They're called Costco, and at Costco, they have the sample lady. Okay, good. Rachel says you do have them over there. I wasn't quite sure. You have the sample lady, right? Why is she there? Other than to give you a beaming smile like this beautiful, beautiful woman, she's there to present an attractive opportunity and give you a taste of what the product actually is. It's safe and it's relevant. It's safe in that, I don't have to commit to anything. Oh, geez. I think I saw that. I don't have to commit. Okay. All right, time out. And scene. Jeepers. Hold on here, Kane. I don't know why that nag's coming up. All right. We'll start this over in case you guys are going to use this for a recording later. The attractive opportunity is you get this nice little sample. You don't have to buy anything, but you're going to get to taste the product, and it's relevant. I'm hungry. I'm hungry, and this person is giving me free food. So this is highly attractive. It's why it works so well. And studies show when there's a sample provided, something like, I don't know what it is, between 15 and let's just say 25% increase in sales, depending on what the product is, depending where it is, blah, blah, blah. But it greatly increases sales because it's attractive. Next is, this is a great example of an attractive offer. This is from a friend here in town. Free jewelry clean and inspection. So you take your ring in, they'll clean it, no cost to you. Now, the hope is that you'll get your jewelry cleaned and then look around and window shop. You don't have to. That's what makes it safe. They're not saying, hey, we'll clean your jewelry, but you got to buy $5,000, $10,000, $30,000 ring. That's not safe. It's relevant in that their ideal prospect likely already has expensive jewelry, and they're saying, listen, we're going to gleam it up, make it look nice. Just come on in, free jewelry, clean and inspection. This is an attractive opportunity. Last one I want to show you is one of my favorite examples ever. All three steps, differentiate, attract, and direct, are here in this picture. This was taken by actually one of our coaches at a what's it called? Conference. Jeez. And these gentlemen, I bet you can guess what the differentiate stage is, what they did to get noticed. They didn't wear pants. They did not wear pants. And I love this so much. I love the juxtaposition of a suit coat on top and no pants on the bottom. So they already have your attention. But what's the attractive opportunity here? You can't really see it. There is a wheel. There's a wheel, a spinning wheel, like a prize wheel right behind. You can kind of see it behind the gentleman in the red tie. And they would invite you as you stepped into the booth after they got your attention to spin the wheel. Now this wheel had actual cool prizes on it. Like, we're going to, I think these guys were, financial advisors. So they said, basically, we're going to do a financial audit for free. We're going to look at, the places where you're losing money. I think one was like a 12-pack of beer or something like that. These were prizes that you would actually want. Tremendously attractive opportunity. So they got our attention and they presented an attractive opportunity. Super, super powerful. One more example I want to show you is an attraction principle. American pants. What are British pants? I don't know. What are the difference? I thought pants are pants. Looks like I'm wrong though. Underwear. Oh, wow. Trousers. Got it. Getting an education here. One principle that you may be familiar with, there are other attraction principles. We're not going to have time to get to them today, but one that I want to teach you is the trusted source. So Shaq, at least here in the States, is endorsing like everything. He endorses pizza and insurance companies, Icy Hot. The dude is a maniac with endorsements. Well, why is that? Because Shaq is a trusted source. People see, oh, hey, there's Shaq. He's famous. He played in the NBA. I trust that guy. So I'm going to buy what he's selling. In this case, it's Icy Hot. That's an attraction principle. So we've presented an attractive opportunity. We've gotten their attention. We've presented them with an attractive opportunity. We move into step 3. That is direct. This is the shortest piece of the puzzle, but it's arguably the most important. I know many, many entrepreneurs before we started working with them who do a great job at getting noticed. They do a great job of providing an attractive opportunity, but they would never close the sale. They'd never direct the prospect on what to do next. Huge, huge problem. The example that I love the most from this is a text, and I use this example in everything because it's so good at illustrating what direct looks like. And actually, I'm going to go back here. What's the objective of direct? To create a clear and reasonable directive that accomplishes your marketing objective. So this could be buy now. This could be sign up here. This could be, learn more. It could be any number of those things. But what you're doing is taking the energy and the momentum from steps 1 and 2 and moving into step 3. Go do something next. Create a clear and reasonable directive that accomplishes your marketing objective. Why? Confused prospects don't take action. If you don't tell them what to do, they're not going to do it. My guess is you've experienced this in some way, shape, or form. Being in marketing for the last, let's say, decade, I see this all the time. You have to tell people explicitly what to do next, or they won't do it. So assuming that the prospect knows what you want them to do, that's a huge mistake. Or making too many asks, another big mistake. So let me show you one example. This is the difference between an okay direct and a perfect direct. So on the left, you see, come in tonight with a friend and buy 2 entrees and receive the second entree at half off. It's not bad. It's okay. But look at the one on the right. Come in tonight with a friend and buy 2 entrees and receive the second entree at half off when you showed this text message to your server. That is as direct as you can make it. And because of that, the text message on the right, this is a restaurant, right? Signing people up for their text club or whatever it is. The one on the right will be infinitely more successful. It's almost, you have to be so clear, you almost feel like you're insulting people. But you're not insulting them. You're actually being kind. Brene Brown says, clear is kind. That's never more true than in marketing. Clear is kind. Direct people to the exact action that they need to take next. It's an act of courtesy. You're not making them think through, gosh, what should I do next? Oh, wait, look at, they're telling me. Bring this in, show them my phone, show it to the server, I'll get half off. Cool. Moving on. Now, I want you to remember, removing any of the critical 3 steps results in getting ignored, being commodified, or blending into the background, and we don't want that. So here's the reality, and I'll close with this. One of my favorite images ever. How's Waldo? Not great. No one ever asks, how's Waldo? Everyone's always asking, where's Waldo? No one asks, how's Waldo? Maybe if we asked, he would say, not great. Here's the reality. Your marketing, I want you to remember this. Your marketing, as it stands today, is doing exactly what you've designed it to do. It's doing exactly what you've designed it to do. I know there were many people on this session who said that they're relying on word of mouth and referrals, or that's how they're primarily getting leads into their business. You're not bad or wrong for doing that. The question you have to ask is, am I comfortable with this? Am I comfortable relying on this form of marketing to bring me new leads, for the future and growth of my business? Am I comfortable with that? Am I ready for that? And if the answer is no, then something different needs to be done. I want you to remember a few things here. Best practices cost you noticeability, okay? I want you to remember that habituation. Remember, we talked about being kind of blended into the background of the brain of your ideal prospect. That costs you noticeability. Passivity costs you noticeability. And I want you to again remember, if you can't get noticed, you won't get business. If you remember nothing else, all of the Get Different framework is summed up in that statement. If you can't get noticed, you won't get business. I'm going to walk through this slide, and then I have kind of a thank you for everyone on the call. And then we're going to have just a few minutes for Q&A if there is any. I want you to remember this. Okay. This is hard. Anybody who's telling you that marketing is easy and that they have if you follow this specific tactical plan, you're going to get $1 million or whatever it is, they're probably lying to you. This is not a silver bullet. Okay. You will need to work hard in building your leads and implementing the Get Different framework. This is for owners who want more from their business. And remember what I said, even if you have a team of 1 and that person is you, and even if you're part-time and that person is you, you are an owner, you're a business owner. And so the Get Different framework is for owners who want more, who want to believe for more and act better and build on what they've built so far. But to do this, you will need to show up every single day. Now, if you're at this point and you're thinking to yourself, I could use some support doing this, I could use some help doing this, I want to give you some next steps that you can take action on. We have created a special website for you, differentaccelerator.com/friends. Now, there's a couple of things on this page. There's a free training on this page, and then there's our accelerator, if you want to join, is on that page as well. You don't have to join the accelerator to get the free training. The free training goes much more in depth. I think it's a 2-hour training. It dives deeper into what we talked about here today because there's only so much time that I have with you. So we dive deep into some of those concepts. You'll see the training. It's on the screen. You don't have to sign up for anything. You don't have to do anything to get that training. But I also want to let you know, if you're also going to see some information on there of how to join our accelerator. It's an 8-week program where we help you build out the Get Different framework week by week in your business. All the details are there. And what we're going to do for the next 48 hours as a thank you is give you $500 off that investment. So just use the promo code FRIENDS when you go to checkout. That will knock off $500 from your enrollment, which is actually the biggest discount I've ever done. But and you're going to see the testimonials on that page. I want you to check out the testimonials because these are folks who are right where you were. Or, I'm sorry, they were where you are. And the accelerator has helped them change their business. And you're going to see some of those success stories on the page. And all the details, all the info are there. So I want you to check that out. Even if you have no intention at all of joining the accelerator, that training is on there, will help you tremendously. And it's about an hour's worth extra of content than what we covered here today. So I did see a question that came through in the chat. Pierre says, how do you suggest we practically generate high quality leads for a tutoring business? So Pierre, what I would do if I were in your shoes, and I actually talk about this story in the free training that's on that page. But I do have to stress too, this is a 48-hour offer. So that goes for both the promo code and the training. So if you're going to check out the training, do it in the next 48 hours. If you're going to join the accelerator, look at all the info, read the testimonials, but that code will expire in 48 hours, just as a heads up. But there is a case study in the training that I talk about, Val, where she didn't need a ton of new leads. And my guess is with the tutoring business, that as I've gotten to know kind of this community, we're not talking about needing thousands of leads like an e-commerce store every single day. You don't need that. You need quality leads and with a decent conversion rate. So doing something like that would, getting your punch list of ideal leads, and then doing something like Val did, where she was the one who sent the thinking cap. She sent it to 20 people and generated, I think it ended up generating 18 grand in new revenue for her. I'm a little sketchy on the numbers because she's gotten so many referrals now from that one client that I can't keep the numbers straight in my head, but it was substantial. So usually when you don't need a ton of leads, you can focus more on really curating and cultivating and being intentional about your lead list. So I would not go volume. I would go for tight quality. And it can be something simple as saying, okay, who are the 20 dream clients that I have? And then building an experiment around that clientele. I think that's all we're going to have time for, is my guess. Ludo, I'm looking at you.
Thank you so much, Justin. That was really very, very kind of you to give up your time like that and to offer such an amazing offer. There are only, as Justin said, 48 hours. So until kind of Thursday evening here in the UK to make use of that offer. Promo code FRIENDS to jump onto the Get Different Accelerator, everything that Justin's talked about here, but as part of a course with others alongside the facilitators. So really learning how to implement that in your own business. Because as we know, as we've learned a lot from today, there's a difference between listening to great advice and great resources and implementing them. And this is the bridge that will help you go from this session this evening to seeing the results in your business. So thank you so much, Justin. I know that you have an incredibly busy schedule, so that's really very kind of you to give it the time to speak with us here at the Love Tutoring Festival. Now, as I just put in the chat, the next event is just starting over on the other Zoom room. That is a paid CPD accredited workshop with our local or close to home marketing guru, Karina Laney. So very much following on from what Justin has been talking about here.
Bye-bye, everybody.